It is October the 2nd, and I decided that I wanted to do a trail above Carson City. So it's called the Sea Hill Trail, and we'll see how it goes. I don't know exactly how long it is, but it should be fun. I've already met a very interesting British guy who told me his life story. Oh, the interesting people that I meet when I do these walks, I tell you. I gotta get away from this traffic noise before I can start talking too much. There's the sea hill right there. As you will recall, in our last hike, Balaam was on his way to Moab to meet with the king, because the king wanted him to curse Israel because he was very afraid of the Israelites. Balaam was apparently a so-called prophet of God, but he had a taste for riches. So he disobeyed God, and he got his donkey and started off for Moab. On the way, the angel of the Lord stood in front of that donkey, and Balaam beat the poor girl 3 times because she wouldn't move forward. Well, finally, the donkey talked to Balaam, and he responded to her as if nothing unusual was happening. Imagine having a conversation with your horse. So God opened Balaam's eyes, and he saw that it was the Lord who stood in front of him there. So he said, "I have sinned, for I did not know it was you who stood before me. If it displeases you, I will turn back." Then the angel of the Lord said, "Go with the men, but only the word that I shall speak to you, that you shall speak." The fact that it was the Lord who told Balaam what to say about Israel implies that the angel of the Lord was divine. So there is all kinds of rabbit trails on these hills. I'm just following whatever one I feel like it, and hopefully it gets us there. Pretty big guy. So Balaam finally made it to the boundary of Moab, where Balak, the king who had sent for him, met him. He got a scolding from the king. "Did I not earnestly send for you, calling for you? Why did you not come for me? Do you think that I am not able to honor you?" Balaam replied with, "Look, I have come to you. The word God puts in my mouth, that I must speak." The next day, after getting some gifts from Balak, Balak the king took Balaam to the high places of Baal so that he might observe the extent of the Israelites. Balaam needed a line of sight to aim his curses at Israel. So Balaam had Balak build 7 altars and sacrifice 7 bulls and 7 rams. It was an expensive group of sacrifices invoking the Lord in order to receive a message from him. All right, coming kind of to the other side of the mountain now. God then told Balaam what he should say.
"Balak, the king of Moab, has brought me from Aram, from the mountains of the east. Come, curse Jacob for me, and come, denounce Israel. How shall I curse whom God has not cursed? And how shall I denounce whom the Lord has not denounced? From the top of the rocks I see him, and from the hills I behold him. There, a people dwelling alone, not reckoning itself among the nations. Who can count the dust of Jacob, or number 1/4 of Israel? Let me die the death of the righteous, and let my end be like his."
Then Balak said to Balaam, "What have you done to me? I took you to curse these Israelites, but look, instead you have blessed them bountifully." Then Balaam said, "I have to speak what the Lord puts in my mouth. You know, in spite of God's frequent need to discipline the Israelites, he still sees them as righteous, and God will not criticize them to outsiders." Then Balak took Balaam to another spot, and again they sacrificed on 7 altars, and God put the words in Balaam's mouth.
"Rise up, Balak, and hear. Listen to me, son of Zippor. God is not a man that he should lie, nor a son of man that he should repent. He has said, and will he not do? Or has he spoken, and will he not make it good? Behold, I have received a command to bless. He has blessed, and I cannot reverse it. He has not observed iniquity in Jacob, nor has he seen wickedness in Israel. The Lord his God is with him, and the shout of a king is among them. God brings them out of Egypt. He has strength like a wild ox. For there is no sorcery against Jacob, nor any divination against Israel. It now must be said of Jacob and of Israel, Oh, what God has done! Look, a people rises like a lioness and shifts itself up like a lion. It shall not lie down until it devours the prey and drinks the blood of the slain.
Acclamation of the Lord in the midst of a royal national war camp meant that the Israelite force was formidable. By emphasizing the power of his chosen people due to his presence with them, God was mercifully warning Balak against hostile action. And in his blessing, did you notice that God protects his people from attacks by occult or supernatural powers? Needless to say, Balak was not impressed, but Balaam kept saying, "It's what God put in my mouth." So Balak said, "Please come. I will take you to another place. Perhaps it will please God that you may curse them for me from there." Some people are incorrigible. This is just a downright very steep section here. I can hardly wait to get to the top. Now when Balaam saw that it pleased the Lord to bless Israel, he did not go as at other times to seek to use sorcery, but set his face towards the wilderness. And Balaam raised his eyes and saw the children of Israel camped according to their tribes, and the Spirit of the Lord came upon him.
The utterance of Balaam the son of Beor, the utterance of the man whose eyes are opened, the utterance of him who hears the words of God, who sees the vision of the Almighty, who falls down with eyes wide open. How lovely are your tents, O Jacob, your dwellings, O Israel, like valleys that stretch out, like gardens by the riverside, like aloes planted by the Lord, like cedars beside the waters. He shall pour water from his buckets, and his seed shall be in many waters. His king shall be higher than Agag, and his kingdom shall be exalted. God brings him out of Egypt. He has strength like a wild ox. He shall consume the nations, his enemies. He shall break their bones and pierce them with his arrows. He bows down, he lies down as a lion, and as a lion who shall rouse him? Blessed is he who blesses you, and cursed is he who curses you.
Previously, Balaam had gone off by himself to receive messages or omens from God. But these messages only turned out to be blessings on Israel, and this angered Balak. Now Balaam tried to avoid a divine message so that he could utter a curse on Israel and claim his reward from Balak. He was rebelling against the command to say only what the divine angel of the Lord told him. However, at this point, the Spirit of God took control of him, and Balaam again blessed Israel. Balak's anger against Balaam was so aroused that he struck his hands together. This was an expression of contempt and a sign of great anger. This was an expensive undertaking for Balak, having to build those 21 altars and sacrificing all those animals and the false hopes that were raised each time. Okay, it appears I've reached the top. Now where's that letter C? Well, it appears it's just a level area. There's another hill to climb up here. So Balak tells Balaam to go flee to your place. I said I would greatly honor you, but in fact, the Lord has kept you from honor. Balaam replied, "I was only doing what the Lord told me to do. If you were to give me a house full of silver and gold, I could not go beyond the word of the Lord. What he says, that I must speak." Well, I've wandered around a bit, but it doesn't look like you can see the sea. At least I'm not going to go hunt for it forever. So let's carry on. Then Balaam said, "Come, I will advise what this people will do to your people in the latter days."
The utterance of Balaam the son of Beor, the utterance of the man whose eyes are opened, the utterance of him who hears the words of God, and has the knowledge of the Most High, who sees the vision of the Almighty, who falls down with eyes wide open. I see him, but not now. I behold him, but not near. A star shall come out of Jacob, a scepter shall rise out of Israel, and batter the brow of Moab, and destroy all the sons of tumult. And Edom shall be a possession, Seir also, his enemies shall be a possession, while Israel does valiantly. Out of Jacob one shall have dominion, and destroy the remains of the city. Then he looked on Amalek, and he took up his oracle, and said, Amalek was first among the nations, but shall be last until he perishes. Then he looked on the Kenites, and he took up his oracle, and said, Firm is your dwelling place, and your nest is set in the rock. Nevertheless, Cain shall be burned. How long until Asher carries you away captive? Then he took up his oracle, and said, Alas, who shall live when God does this? But ships shall come from the coasts of Cyprus, and they shall afflict Asher and afflict Eber, and so shall Amalek until he perishes.
Balaam had been fired, but offered 4 more oracles for free. Balak was finished with Balaam, but God was not finished with Balak. God had warned Moab not to harass his people. Now Balak learned what the fate of Moab and other nations would be in the latter days. That is, in the future. Now I have to walk on this road, and it is really steep and loose. I don't like the surface of it. Okay, this will be slow going. Well, this is better now. I'm so glad I have GPS. Man, there's so many trails around here. This portion of Numbers 24 is the first example of an important biblical literature. That is, prophecies of the nations surrounding Israel that are not blessed. King David did conquer Moab and Edom, and when the prophecy said, A star shall come out of Jacob, and a scepter shall rise out of Israel, a number of interpreters have applied this prophecy to Jesus Christ, the son of David. And Saul and Samuel did destroy Amalek. Then it says, Balaam arose, departed, and went to his place, and Balak also went his way. Now you may be thinking, what a great story! How God's voice was heard through a human, even though his intentions were not honorable, God was still able to use him. Yes, indeed. But that's not the end of the story. As we will see later on, Balaam went home and conceived of a scheme by which the downfall of Israel might be brought about. He returned immediately to Moab to lay his plan before the king, and he died soon after in battle. But I'm getting ahead of myself. That's for the next hike. So what can we learn from this story? It is a perilous thing to allow an unchristian trait to live in the heart. One cherished sin will, little by little, debase the character, bringing all its nobler powers into subjection to the evil desire. The removal of one safeguard from the conscience, the indulgence of one habit, one neglect of the high claims of duty, breaks down the defenses of the soul and opens the way for Satan to come in and lead us astray. The only safe course is to let our prayers go forth from a sincere heart, as did David when he said, "Hold up my goings in thy paths, that my footsteps slip not." I made my own loop trail to get to the Sea Hill, and my phone says I did 6 miles. So the healing hiker rating for this self-appointed Sea Hill hike is a 4 out of 5. At the very top, it's so super steep and the rocks are so slick that I dinged it for that. And I had the trail mostly to myself. Nobody was at the top. So it was pretty epic. I enjoyed myself very, very much. Now, what is preventing you from giving your life to God so that He can speak through you?